Anyway, all right. So now let's talk a little bit about Governor Ron DeSanctimonious.
Rob, Meatball Rob.
Rob DeSanctimonious. Trump called him Rob, for those of you who don't know. And he did it in a press release, which makes it way more funny.
Oh, my God.
Just leave it in there. It's fine.
I can't help enjoying all of it.
Oh, it's
and I
great.
know it's all going to end in horror when he's back in the White House, but right now it's really funny.
He launched an attack on DeSantis that was like, first of all, he teased it, which is hilarious. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, look out. I'm going to have some numbers for you.
I'm going to release some numbers later.
Not too good. They're not too good.
I like the way he framed it, too. I'm going to release some numbers.
Right,
I think it's how he phrased
just
it.
Google search some shit. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Some staffer compiled
But low-key, he hit him with, like, arguments that sounded like it was coming from, I was going to say DeSanctimonious, DeSantis' left. It was like, you rank like 45th in education. You have a horrible education system over there. What are you bragging about your education system for? Your crime numbers are terrible. I've never seen anything like it. Honestly, you're just a mediocre governor, but you have phenomenal PR.
Average governor, that's what he said.
Like, oh yeah, average. Yeah, I'm reading it. I'm like, he's spitting right now.
Yeah.
He's spitting.
Yeah, it was the COVID death thing in particular sounded like a Democratic attack. Yeah. You know, it was like,
we did so good on COVID. Why did all these people die? Fourth worst in the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I didn't even know some of these things that he's hitting him with. That's hilarious.
It was a way better attack than I honestly have seen.
Yeah, no, it's true. So, but anyway, this is all connected, by the way.
Yeah.
Because, and this is my perspective. I'm curious what you think. Because he's in Trump's sights right now. Like, he's in the scope.
Yeah.
He feels like, fuck, like I got to do something. Like,
yeah,
he doesn't want to go to war.
He sees the poll numbers.
Sees the poll numbers going down. He knows if he unleashes on Trump in a similar way, he'll lose, right?
Yeah.
So he's trying to balance this thing of like, I'm going to do the high road, but also still take some pot shots here because he's killing me now. But he's like, I know. I'll go back to my one trick that I do all the time.
That's a great point.
Which is, no matter what, culture war stuff. Let's do it. Let's lean into it. I'm the culture war guy. I trigger the left. I trigger the libs, right?
Yeah.
And so what does he do? You can tell everybody.
So he is expanding now the Don't Say Gay, so-called Don't Say Gay law to all grades. This is apparently something he didn't even need to take legislative action to do. It's just like an expansion of the rule by the state education department, which of course is run by his cronies. So now it's no longer just like, oh my God, save the little children. It's like, no, all the way up until you're a senior in high school at 18 years old. That we have to, have this legislation into place. But I think you're right, absolutely right about the political motivations of it.
So just so everybody understands what that means. Now, all the way up until 12th grade, you can't have a conversation about sexual orientation or gender identity.
Yep.
All the way up until 12th grade, you're not supposed to talk about that or bring that up.
Yeah. And part of what is so pernicious about this law, they'll frame it as, oh, is this just about parental choice or whatever? It's written in this very intentionally vague way where it could be construed, and I think understandably could be construed as saying, oh, you can't even have a picture of a same-sex spouse on your desk. Like, that's how far-reaching this could potentially be. So it was written in a way to effectively scare teachers out of even mentioning anything remotely related to
and it worked.
Sexual orientation or gender identity. And that's right, it has worked.
And see, the thing is, look, before, like you said, there were many issues with the law. I think you did a great job of explaining what the problem was with the original law.
Yeah.
That it's so vague and the whole point is to like scare the teachers into overreaching to make sure they don't run afoul of the law.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't even have, if you're a gay teacher, you can't have a picture of you and your spouse on the desk, etc. But like, those were the arguments that people like you and me made in response to that law, because the argument that the Republicans were making and DeSantis was making is like, hey man, any reasonable person thinks that if you're dealing with the first grader, you don't say anything about gender, you don't say anything about sex. What are you you're in favor of teaching a first grader that stuff? Like, so in other words, my point here is intuitively, they had an argument that to a normie sounded stronger.
Yes.
But now I think he massively overreached. This isn't the same. This is like, Matt Walsh originally and Michael Knowles originally, they're like, oh, we just don't think kids should be transitioning. That's our whole point. And everybody goes, okay, all right, that seems kind of reasonable. That's the normie perspective. But then they let the mask slip. And you had Matt Walsh on Twitter saying he thinks it should be illegal for a doctor to perform the surgery, even for adults. You have Michael Knowles, who literally just did the same thing this week. He came out and said, I think the surgery should be illegal, even for adults. So what's happening here, guys, is they're letting the mask slip too much. They knew how to, like, mask it and make it only about kids. And we're just trying to protect the kids. And the left is, trying to destroy the innocent youth that our children represent. But now it's like, no, this is what it's really about. This is what it's really up till 12th grade. You can't talk about sexual orientation. Are you insane? Are you insane? You're telling me that an 11th grader or a 12th grader isn't already super duper familiar with all these different things? They have their own sexuality is developed. What are we talking about here?
Right. And to pretend like that's not real, I mean, you are living in a fantasy, unreality. I looked it up just to see how Florida voters, not national, but just Florida voters, felt about the original iteration of Don't Say Gay, which I agree with you from a normie, like political messaging standpoint.
Like, oh, it's about the kids.
They had a stronger leg to stand on. So even with that, in terms of independent voters, they were still opposed to it. Now, it was fairly close. It was 49 to 43 in terms of independent voters. And then you had a pretty partisan split. So 76% of Dems were opposed to it. 28% of Republicans are actually opposed to it, which is significant. Like a third of Republicans were opposed to it. So it's not even like the original iteration of the law was popular. It wasn't. It was controversial. It was underwater. But to go back to your political point, he clearly saw this as part of how he was able to initially eat into some of Trump's edge and gain a national following and gain in terms of a national Republican base. But
it's his only trick.
But I don't think this is gonna work.
Hell no! Because, right now, no way it's gonna work.
Right, exactly. I mean, at this point, I think you've gotten everything you can get politically with the Republican base out of this particular move. And one thing that I've noted with the Trump to DeSantis dynamic is Trump is going all in on him. You know, not the policy case, laying it out, but then also like alleging that maybe he's also a gay groomer. I mean, there's just like no holds barred, right? No limit to what Trump will say about him. DeSantis will do these little tiny like passive aggressive jabs where he doesn't even say Trump's name.
I wouldn't know anything about paying hush money to a porn star that I allegedly had an affair with. I wouldn't know anything about that.
And the reaction to that from not just MAGA, but some people who were sort of like a little bit pro DeSantis, but still sympathetic to Trump. They were so furious that he even did that little bit of a jab at Trump because they're like, the president is under assault by a George Soros DA, and how dare you like choose this time to attack him relentlessly. It's like, you know, Trump did just like call him a groomer. And he makes this little jab and you're freaking out about it. So he's in a very difficult position right now.
But look, that's what Trump is so good at. And honestly, it's like only Trump who gets away with it.
Right.
So if you remember the very first time Trump unleashed on DeSantis, everybody was like, hey, whoa, what are you doing? Even Republicans were like, you're going too far, bro. Like, relax, reel it in a little bit.
Yeah.
But then he does it a second time, and then he does it a third time, and then he does it a fourth time, and then he does it 5 days a week for like 4 weeks straight. And at some point in there, you just start going, at some point in there, just like, all right, he's kind of right. And then people
it might not be right, but it's funny.
And then people eventually are like, that's just Trump being Trump.
Right.
But what he does is on a daily basis, the barrage of attack, he just chips away and chips away. And each day it's like he drops 1.2 percentage points. And the next thing you know, he dropped like 25 points from the last time a poll came out. And the other thing is, look, and this is the part a lot of people won't admit, I'll admit it. It's the substance of his attacks that work. He keeps it. Ron DeSanctimonious wants to raise the age for Medicare and Social Security. Wants to raise it to 70 years old. I would never. I want to protect it. That's a powerful issue to him.
Yeah.
Even the thing like, hey, you're a groomer. He was a teacher and did hang out with the underage girls at a party.
There is a photo.
Bro.
It's not a good look.
Bro. Now, look, the thing about Trump, though, also is he doesn't, like, hypocrisy is not a thing to him. He doesn't care. So the fact that over 20 women have accused him of sexual assault and sexual harassment
or that
and
there's
things
photos
up to rape
of him with Jeffrey Epstein. It doesn't matter.
Like, he doesn't care, and he knows the others will never stoop.
Well, DeSantis can't get away with it.
He can't get away with it.
Because you can see when he even is like, I don't know anything about the hush money. People are, how could you attack our president?
And then the new one. Did you see the new one when he was interviewing with Piers Morgan? He was asked, he's like, look, my leadership style is a lot different. I surround myself with people who have the same agenda as I do. And what did he say? There was one other part of it that was kind of interesting, but I'm blanking on it right now. Oh, he said you could call him, Piers Morgan asked him if he likes the name DeSanctimonious.
Yeah.
He laughs and he's like, yeah, I don't know what it means. It's kind of funny. I guess I like it, but you can call me whatever you want as long as you also call me a winner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, You're doing as good as you can given the circumstances, but you're still dropping in the polls.
I mean, that's the thing that I want to be fair about is I don't know that there is a winning hand for him to play. I really don't.
That's a great point. Yes. 'Cause it's the national stuff unfolding is making that the case. It's like a flower coming to blossom in the spring. Like, it's just happening. Because when you have Trump being the ire of the DA and he's under all these, that's the only thing that's going to circle the wagons from the Republican base.
Circling the wagons. He's the center of attention. He still has this hold on the Republican base. And so, I mean, we sort of laugh at DeSantis's somewhat flailing attempts to like meekly punch back or whatever. But what can you do? If you went guns blazing, Trump will destroy you. Like, you can't, you will not win at that game. You will not win at that game. If you say nothing, then you look like even more of a cuck than you already do. There's no winning strategy here. I guess sort of the best course is what he's pursuing, which is like, let me kind of put myself in position to maintain number 2 and hope something happens to take this guy down, because I'm not going to be the person who's capable of doing that.
See, I think that point absolutely nails it. That's exactly how I feel about it. Like, I look at how he's acting. It's not embarrassing like Jeb Bush was or Marco Rubio was. It was just like immediate, like, oh.
Yeah, like
it's not
hard
that.
to watch.
Like, it's as good as he can possibly do given the circumstance. But given the circumstance, Trump's rising 10 points, 15 points, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And there's just no escaping that. So, his strategy isn't wrong. Like, I'll just sort of hang out here and do a little jab every now and then, but try to be above the fray and just hope something happens. That's not wrong, but it's just, I think he knows he's got, he's playing poker and he's got a 15% shot on the river to win. You know what I mean? Like, that, it just is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, hope is not a strategy, but I think that's all he's really got at this point. Listen, things can change. You never know. Trump is just as capable of like shooting himself in the dick as he is being a phenomenal politician as he is right now.
That's true, and he could also literally end up in prison potentially.
Yeah.
But this is not landing. The thing DeSantis did is not landing anywhere near. When he first did the Don't Say Gay bill and the Stop Woke thing, and this was on right-wing Twitter, it was like, oh, yes.
Well, and
now
also,
people, I haven't seen anything on this. You don't see these people cheerleading it because he overreached. We're talking about 12th graders now.
It's not only that, it's also that the libs have seen this play before. So they're also not melting down in the same way. Which is what gives the right wing like the energy of like, we got to defend this guy and makes them like him more. So neither part is playing into him. Sagar actually made this point on our show, which is apparently DeSantis really wants him to wait until the Florida legislative session is through so that he can have more of these like policy wins that he thinks are his strategy to like get back on top. And it's very Elizabeth Warren kind of vibes. Like, let me I'm going to have a white paper on and run on policy. And as he indicated to Piers Morgan, like, I'm going to have the best personnel and I know how to run the government. I don't think that's where the hearts and minds of the Republican base are.
It's the show. And Trump, nobody puts on a show like Trump. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
There's no way around that.
No.
So, anyway.
Good luck, Rob.
Meatball Ron. Many call him Meatball Ron. I would never call him that, but many call him that.
Another day we'll debate the distinctimonious nickname because I think we have different takes on that.
You think it's good?
I actually do think it's
You think it's better than Meatball Ron?
I don't know that it's better than Meatball Ron. I mean, Meatball Ron it's a classic.
Pudding Ron.
It's an instant classic.
Pudding Ron is actually my favorite. I sent Krystal a tweet the other day because, the story came out of DeSantis eating pudding with 3 fingers on an airplane or something.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, got bigger than I expected it to. I didn't even cover it, but it got bigger than I expected it to.
I mean, it's just it's like Amy, what's-her-face, Klobuchar with the comb and the salad.
Right.
It's such a horrifying image that you just like,
But somebody did like a fake Trump thing in the debate where he would talk about this theoretically and be like, Ron, I saw you backstage. You were eating the pudding. I saw you. You were eating the pudding. Like a boy. You had 3 fingers. You're using 3 fingers. It was disgusting. And the person just nailed the cadence and the rhythm so perfectly. I laughed so hard when I first read that tweet.
Yeah.
Shout out to whoever did that tweet.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Let's get from Pudding Ron to some very serious substantive discussions here. Matthew Zeitlin, he is a fantastic journalist with Grid News. Let's talk to him about the Fed, Silicon Valley bailouts, and so much more.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.